Hello and welcome to FPL Expectations with me, Craig. Another episode, another game week. Yes, it's game week 21, which is a couple of hours away, wherever in the world you are, and if you are watching live. It's a tough one. It's a quick turnaround of games from game week 20. I hope all your game week 20s went well. We're going to find out our experts and see how their game week 20s went. And when I say experts, I am talking about the one and only FPL Mariner. How you doing? I was going to introduce you as Mr. Green because all you get is green arrows.
No, I do get the odd red arrow, but no. To be honest with you, I'm my head's gone. This is tough week, man. Tough week.
Yeah. Definitely, it is, and we're going to definitely touch on that. And joining us for the second time is at FPL Swang. Swang, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Hope I'll do Joe justice tonight.
Yeah. We're looking forward to having some of your insights into game week 21. We're going to go straight into game week 20 because we don't have a lot of time, and we're just going to have a look at your team first, Mariner. Game week 20, green arrows, as I said, Mr. Green for you. It's been onwards and upwards for you over the last few weeks and into the top 5K?
Just outside. I think it's 5.6, but look, I'm not worried about that. I mean, the main thing is I took a bit of a hit last week because I didn't play any of the chips, and I've recovered that. So I dropped down to about 11.5, and I've recovered that back now, which was really important. The only thing is it's quite uncharacteristic for me, but I'm taking hits at the moment. So normally I'm a lot more conservative, but I'm not this week. Or last couple of weeks I've not been. So I scored 70, but I took a 4-point hit, so 66. Cancelo in 17 points, happy days. The next day, Trent out, of course, 17 points. That was a waste of time. That's twice in 2 years he's done that to me. Where I take him out and the same week he hauls. Gundogan, 14 points. KDB out for 0, obviously. So my hit actually gave me a net plus 10. So I was happy enough with that. Souček, where's amazing, isn't he? 2 returns. I shouted him out and he came in. Amazing. Grealish, Antonio. Yeah, really happy with those. And then we talk about the big boys and, 2.7 million reasons for everybody to be a bit fed up of Bruno, right? But let's face it, it's the one time I think as a captain you didn't really care because he didn't damage you because he blanked. Everybody, I think I looked at the mini league. I think every single person in one of the mini leagues I was in captain Bruno. Salah blank, not scored since the 19th of December in the league. That's going to change, I think. Kufal, Robbo blank. Robbo's a worry. Martinez blank, 3 against Burnley. What's going on there?
Yeah.
I'm happy enough, but I think it's the calm before the storm. I'm expecting a couple of quite turbulent weeks, quite frankly.
We're coming on to game week 21 and how we're in a bit of a pickle heading into it. Swang, we're going to come to you and your team. Decent score for you, 59, well above the average. Talk us through your game week 20 score.
Well, must talk about the main man, Cancelo, my captain.
Wow. You were one of those who took that gamble and it paid off.
I listened to Mariners stream on differential captain and just went for it. And it paid off massively. But my bench, I have Souček, 15 points on my bench. Yes.
To be fair, I think most people did have him, on the bench. I mean, I obviously didn't have him as a sub, but
captain him in the double game week.
Yeah, that's the thing. I remember that, and I think I was one of those who did the same as you. I played him during the double game week. Obviously, didn't get anything for me. And just before this week, when I did the show with Mariner, I wasn't too sure about his positioning and his West Ham's new tactical tweak. But somehow he's come away with 2 goals, which Mariner did shout, and he did call that. So fair play. But 59 points, you happy with that?
Yeah. Considering I only have 3 returns and I managed to captain the right one. It's damn good.
That is. Okay, that's your game week 20 score. We're going to go straight on to to game week 21 and have a little preview of that. Mariner, now, we said at the start of the show, it could be a tough week. And there's a reason behind it being a tough week, isn't there? I mean, there are just so many options coming out of everywhere.
Well, there are, and I think the problem is, and again, someone who lives in Singapore, it's a bit of an old, it's a bit of an expensive city here. But at the moment, I've got pockets full of cash with respect to FPL, and I don't really know how to spend it. Let's face it, Kane's injury, maybe it's Son Mark 2, but Kane. He would have been the person I would have brought in, and I would have captained him, and it would have been a no-brainer. No-brainer, and that's completely thrown me into a complete quandary. So then, what we start to do is we start looking for other options. You've got Sterling, yes, but then really, apart from that, we're then in this sort of like 5, 6, 7, 8 million sort of slot, looking for captaincy. And as Swang says, it's so important to get the captain right. Yeah. So consequently, we start everything which we're doing is we're looking at how we can look at things in the short term, which is respect to the captaincy, and give yourself an option if you're lucky enough. And if not, then you probably look at the next 3 or 4 weeks, and there's chunks of good fixtures for players. Everton have got a couple of really good ones, then it turns. Leicester have got a couple of really good ones, then it turns. West Ham have got a couple of really bad ones, and then it turns. So it's really quite complicated at the moment. And I mean, the show which I did last night, we had some really interesting stuff came out from, we all know Lens, I'm sure. And some of the stuff which he brought up about particularly the matchups for Everton and also for Villa have really got me thinking to the extent that I have already made some moves on the back of what he says. So you better be right, Lens.
We're going to come on to your moves in just a minute, Mariner. We're going to come on to your moves in just a minute and what you've done so far. But Sway, we're going to come to you. Mariner touched upon Spurs and Kane. Now, just going through Twitter and scrolling through it, we see a lot of people that had made that move already. They tried to get that price rise, made an early Kane move, and now they're suffering for it because obviously he's going to be out for a few weeks. And more often than not, those people have had to take a hit to kind of replace him. What are your views on Spurs assets going into this week?
I think, firstly, I think we have learned it over all the game weeks this season that we shouldn't make our transfers until the last day, like hours before. Especially like
price rises or not, right?
Yeah, and the premiums are not firing. So is price really a problem right now? I don't think so. Like you have Salah not firing. Fernandes has blanked for like three of the past 4 games as well.
Yeah.
And for Spurs, well, Mourinho said he has dodgy ankles. Well, I don't really trust Mourinho, but I've Kane as well, and I've settled him with a transfer.
Okay, we'll come on to how you've settled him in a while as well. For those who were looking to bring in Spurs assets, now there's no Kane. And I know, Mariner, you touched on this during your show yesterday. Does that affect Son in any way, Sway? Having no Harry Kane there? Or does Son immediately become the focal point of that team and everything goes through him?
Going to Swang or to me?
Yeah, Swang.
It depends because when Kane was injured, he didn't bring a natural striker on. He brought Lamela on. Yeah. Does it mean that Son will move to the striker role? And who will create for Son? Because in the past, it has been the Kane and Son connection. But without Kane, will Son be able to fire, especially this season? And Reguilon is injured as well. And basically, they have like, no creativity. I would hold Son if I have him.
You'll hold Son if you have him, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, Mariner, we're going to come to you. And you spoke about the moves that you've already done going into 21. I mean, you also mentioned Everton could be a tasty matchup. And it's immediately when you talk about Everton, there's only 3 players that spring to mind, to be honest with you. and that is Luca Digne, James Rodriguez, and DCL. Now, DCL is someone that I know that has interested you a lot this week.
Yeah. I mean, look, if we start just generally about it, quite clearly the matchup is on paper super tasty against Newcastle. The problem is, if you looked at the statistics, Everton are dreadful.
Yeah.
So what you are looking at is you are saying that the foursome are back together. Richarlison, DCL, Digne, and James, and that turns them back into what they were before they started to get riddled with injuries. The term that Lenz used yesterday on the show was Digne could camp out and feed the rest, quite frankly.
Yeah.
So you're looking at a side which concedes a lot of crosses, a lot of chances from the left, a lot of headed chances, and quite frankly, a side which are in a bit of disarray, with respect to what's going on up there. So it's one of those classics. Are we looking and thinking, well, Everton are going to do well because of the way that they're, the way that they set up and the fact that we know they did well at the start of the season. If you recall, I owned DCL from the first game week till he got injured. And I went with my gut then. And I'm prepared to go with my gut now with DCL. So for me, DCL has come in. I can tell you he has. Now, the other one is Dean. My gut tells me that, again, he will be heavily involved this evening. It's the first game. I can actually watch it. It's the early game, isn't it?
8:30, yeah.
8:30.
So I think now my worry is Pickford. I've got to be honest. But I'm hearing a rumor. There was a rumor sort of like circulating last night that he might not play. So that's good enough for me. So Dean's in as well. So
yeah.
So I've gone for it, quite frankly. And
for a hit, yeah.
And for a hit. And I think that looking at the fixtures, I think they've got Leeds and I think they've got Fulham coming up as well. 3 out of the next 4. I'll have to just quickly check that one. But, they've got some pretty good fixtures coming up and they've got the potential of a double game week. So, and they're the only, there's only really Everton there who have that looking like they're going to get that double game week in 24. And the next chance for get double game weeks is 26. So I think Everton actually are quite an interesting, quite an interesting option at the moment from my side. So that's where I'm going with them anyway. I mean, clearly it's a gamble, but sometimes you have to go with your gut over numbers. And I'm a numbers man, but sometimes you do.
Fair enough. Fancying this Everton versus Newcastle matchup there is our very own Mariner. Swain, we're going to come straight to you and your team for game week 21. I mean, have you made any moves yet or are you leaving it right to the death?
Well, whatever Mariner said, I did. I did it.
Oh, you did as well.
I brought DCL and I brought Digne in. Okay,
so you've gone for it as well. You've gone for the Everton double up. And
one Everton.
Yeah. So you really feel that this fixture is one for both your Everton assets, yeah?
Yeah, I think we have to look at the fixture more than the form of Everton. And I personally think Newcastle is a shit team.
Yeah, don't hold back, don't hold back.
Don't beat around the bush there, mate. Just tell it as it is.
So yeah, it's a hit for you to do exactly the same transfers that Mariner made. And what about the captain's armband? Is it worth chucking it on DCL? And I know Mariner was tempted by it. We'll come on to his metric in a while. But for you personally, the armband, does it go to him or are you sticking it on Cancelo, which it's on right now?
The only problem is that it's the early kickoff. Usually we always say you shouldn't captain the early kickoff because when it goes bad, your whole week you just don't feel good anymore. So I haven't changed my captaincy from the last week. It's still on Cancelo. Well, more than likely I'll stick with Cancelo.
Okay.
Well, it depends what happens next hour.
That's brave.
Well, if it ain't broken, why fix it, right?
Well, why not? There is a little. I mean, I don't know how likely it is, but I think fullbacks are more likely to be rotated than centre halves. So could there be a chance Cancelo rotates this week? It's obviously a bigger chance than it was last week, isn't it?
It's Walker fit?
I think he is. Yeah, I think he is. I've certainly not seen that. In fact, I don't think he's flagged anymore. I think he was training, wasn't he, Craig?
Who's that? Sorry,
Walker.
He was. Yeah. He should be fit as well. So
with these games,
I think it was. Yeah, we did mention it a couple of weeks ago as well that it could be a potential. But one thing I like about Pep this season, he hasn't tried to mess with it too much. I mean, you get the occasional rotation at the back, but I think he's kind of learned from it. You see Zinchenko starting a lot of games. The two centre backs in Diaz and Stones haven't really changed for most of the season. And you look back and over the years, and one of the criticisms Pep has always had is his rotation. But I think he's understanding that a settled back four is big. It makes a big difference.
I mean, you could argue that Cancelo's not going up and down the pitch actually at the moment because he's basically playing half of KDB's role.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you want to quickly show my screen because you can see that I've got the heat map up now. And you can just see that heat map on the top left-hand corner against West Brom. And quite frankly, he's basically just camping out in the opposition's half. And he's playing a lot more central. And you can see this from this heat map, particularly where he's a lot wider against Chelsea. So now KDB's outside, Cancelo's coming in and playing a lot further forward. And the analogy that Lenz used last night, and I thought it was fantastic, was basically Manchester City have cut KDB in half. And half the creativity comes through Gundogan, and half of it comes through Cancelo. So KDB basically is all his output is now through those two players. And if you look at those heat maps there, you can see Gundogan underneath. You can pretty much see how you can make that conclusion, right?
Yeah.
But I still
even Cancelo's goal last week, Mariner. I mean, the position that he took up there.
It's a bit of
it's involved in everything.
Outside the box. Yeah.
I mean, Cancelo's involved in everything. Is third with respect to XG at 0.31, third for XA at 0.16. Gundogan was second for XG at 0.59. They're really looking at both of those assets actually looking fantastic. The analogy is cutting KDB in half, which I'm sure Manchester City fans would hope that nobody does. But at the end of the day, from our FPL perspective, that Cancelo's a fantastic option. I own him. I'm just that little worried about whether he might get benched one of these next two, and I think it's possibly likely. But if not this week, next week.
I could be possibly one of the few that don't own him, but I've always had. I've had Stones and Diaz for a number of weeks, and I just think shifting it to Cancelo is a bit of a sideways move and a waste of the transfer. But that's just me because I really have.
And I think the other point is that if you look at it, the match they've got one more good fixture after this week, and then the fixtures turn a tiny bit more difficult. So you might be thinking about. Maybe one defender's perhaps going to be enough going forwards. But that said, City's defence is just so far in advance of every other defence in the league at this moment in time. You wouldn't argue, you wouldn't bet against them keeping a clean sheet against anyone, quite frankly, now.
Perfect. So that is game week 21 and everything that we're doing there. Just to recap it for everyone, if you're just joining us, a big hello to you. Thank you for watching our stream. As always, I see a lot of in the comments section, a lot of people there who regularly tune in to our streams. Thank you very much for the support. Just to recap it for you, Mariner, You have taken a -4 this week. You've brought in 2 Everton assets ahead of the game against Newcastle. That's Luca Digne and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Currently, the captain's armband is on.
I can't remember what I've left it on. I think
we're going to go. We'll come up to your metric.
I think it's on DCL at the moment, but quite frankly, since I've been out, I was sat having a coffee in Singapore about 2 hours ago, and it changed from Grealish to DCL and then back again. and now it might even change again. So I've put a little warning on Twitter to say that I had a little bit of a brainwave when I was out, and I thought it's time to include another person into the captain metric. So we'll come to that in a minute, I think.
Yeah, if you follow Mariner on Twitter, and if you don't, please do. He did tweet that there is a new name, which I think is going to interest quite a few of you that are watching right now. Swang has done exactly the same transfers ahead of game week 21, going into ahead of game week 21. Sorry, he's also brought in Luca Digne and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, but his captaincy is on João Cancelo. So that's an interesting one after the massive haul last week. We're going to see what the captain metric tells us, courtesy, obviously, of FPL Mariner. And we're just going to see it. Let me get it up for you.
Yeah, it doesn't. I have not had a chance to put Gundogan in, but I have plugged his numbers into into a calculation on the side.
So this was your metric from yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah. So basically, this is the metric as it was from last night. But since then, I have done the calculation for Gundogan, and of course, the fixture difficulty is the same as Sterling. His form is very similar, and his returns, I think it was 1 and 7. I think he's only had 1 double return, and 7 weeks where he's had single returns, and that just puts him below Sterling. But I am talking by 0.4.
Okay.
So he sits right next to Sterling. So Gundogan, numbers wise, if you're a numbers man like me, you should be captaining one of those 2. If you are. Now, the thing is he due? He's clearly in the form of his life. We've just shown the heat maps. My rule is, it always has been, is do not captain anyone under 7.5, in fact, under 8 million. And I made an exception for Grealish. So I've got to go against my rule, which I said I would stick to for the full year if I go with him. Interestingly, obviously Sterling tops it, and I don't think that's too surprising. And yeah, so I think why have I got Fernandes there? Maybe that's wrong. I don't know, maybe looking at the wrong one here. But no, Sterling and Grealish is right. No, Fernandes was third, I think. He was. But in any case, the point I'm making is Grealish is another option who, for me, looks very, very tasty this week. If you recall the game against Southampton at Villa, I think there was a real rush of goals right at the end. I think Grealish did he get 3 returns?
Yeah, I think this was the one that we were watching, I think, weren't we?
Yeah, something like, I know there's lots of returns, and I think I started moaning about that. It was the time, it was the week I started moaning about the penalties, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But no,
I think this is the one where Watkins missed a hatful as well, didn't he?
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, that's nothing new there, is it? but I mean, look, from my perspective, Grealish has a good matchup against Southampton. Lenz mentioned last night he thinks Matt Targett's a really good option, and he thinks on the basis of that Grealish also is. So Grealish as well, a really, really solid captain choice this week, in my opinion. So you've really got, I think, if you're looking at numbers, Sterling, Gundogan, and Grealish, and if you're thinking about gut, you're probably thinking about Son, Salah, and DCL from my perspective. But I think if you're looking at numbers, I think clearly Sterling, Gundogan, and probably Grealish.
Yeah, very interesting stuff there.
Just is still injured, and they play on the left side of their front three. And Jan Valery isn't that good of a defender compared to Kyle Peters. So I think he can have a field day.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, one thing I did do, and I was actually having a look for somebody a little bit earlier on a direct message on Twitter, and I actually pulled Valery's heat map, and he does play. He looks like he plays a little bit deeper naturally than Calvert-Lewin. So, sorry, Calvert-Lewin, than Walker Peters. Yeah, but that said, obviously, there's Villa are such a side. I think they could probably, and Valery is not that. He's not a great defender from my perspective anyway. So I think Villa could have some. I think Villa could have some luck tonight, actually, or when they play.
Okay, fantastic stuff there. So Gundogan into the metric. He's second on Mariners captaincy metric. So if you are a Gundogan owner and you're still struggling to think who to give the armband to, he's a fantastic option. But as it stands, it's Sterling that tops the metric. Gundogan's in second, Jack Grealish in third. So it's really up to you. Gut feelings, stats, it's up to you which one you'd like to follow. But either way, it's one of those weeks where anyone could have the armband and could haul.
Yeah. And I'm even, we're an hour and a half away from the deadline, and I've still not made my mind up.
Yeah. Well, I'm no different. I'm still yet to make any transfer. At least you've made one. I'm yet to touch my team, but we'll still have a little bit of time for that. Right. It's that time of the evening where we answer your questions. We obviously put a tweet out. We've got a lot coming on there, but I'd like to cover the ones for those of you who are watching live right now. I see some questions coming on the comments section. First of all, hi to everyone. A lot of regulars that have come on. Ali Sufyan, he says he likes this week captain choice varieties. I'm either going Gundogan or DCL train. I think that's a very popular one this week, along with maybe Son. Yedlin is available, will affect Dini's performances. I think that one was for you, Mariner. But then he goes on to ask, do we give the captaincy to Gundogan or Calvert-Lewin? Now, this goes back to some of what we said earlier when the metric got posted up. Gundogan ranked second in your metric. And if we follow the stats, a City asset, whether it's Sterling, whether it's Gundogan, is the one to captain. However, this Newcastle side, as Swain put it, is shit. And Calvert-Lewin, I wouldn't say he's on fire right now. He's not on the form that saw us, clamoring to get him into our teams in the early part of the season. But you've just got to kind of fancy him against that Newcastle defence.
Yeah, you do. But I tell you what, if you look at the fixture difficulty and you look at the matchups, and that's based on things like XG, expected goals against expected goals conceded, shots in the box against shots in the box conceded, big chances against big chances conceded. Everton are negative. Everton are negative 0.9 and Man City are positive 2.3. That to me is a complete. That's poles apart. Yeah. But I am prepared to say that Everton's performances and Everton's stats have been so badly affected by these key players missing. They don't have the same strength of depth like a Manchester City of this world, And I think that's where you look at the stats and you think, wow, this says this. But the caveat there is, think what Everton were like earlier in the season. How many weeks did DCL go? I think he blanked once in, was it the first 12 or 13 or something crazy?
Ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
It's completely 100%. Well, he was termed essential, wasn't he?
He was early on. Sway, anything to add for this? Gundogan or Calvert-Lewin as captain?
I would captain Gundogan, but remember Newcastle's not a good team. So if there's anything for Everton to turn around, it's this match.
Okay, so it's one of those. Metric once again says Gundogan, but gut feeling says Calvert-Lewin. So Dean, it's really up to you to decide that one. We can't give you any more than we have already in terms of that. This is a good one. Kanashe asks, Fernandes or Sterling?
Metric would say Sterling.
I'm not sure if this is captaincy.
If it's for captaincy, well, if it's for captaincy, it'd be Sterling. And I think if you were thinking of moving Fernandes out for Sterling, I don't know that I would do that. And if it's a case of bringing one in or the other, I would. I think for this week, I would go with Sterling.
Yeah. A lot of shouts in the comments for early kickoffs. They stuff up. It's a shambles. Just following on from what Swang says.
No, interestingly enough, and again, obviously, I think a lot of people do sit in our time zones who are on this show. But I recall this year a number of early kickoffs where Calvert-Lewin has scored. I've got off to a flyer this year a few times when Calvert-Lewin has scored in the early game. So, and I recall having heated discussions with the missus who had James Rodriguez at the start of the season. So
he looked good, by the way.
That's when. Well, I think she likes him anyway. But anyway, probably. But no, but all the same, there is this early captaincy thing, and there's always the risk that you just end up going into, complete flunk for the whole game week. But it's not like a 10-day game week either. It's only 3 days, isn't it? So and you've just got to laugh if you've gone with it. You've gone with it for a reason, and if it goes wrong, hey, it goes wrong.
Well, sometimes there is that thing when you think too much into it.
I am a bit worried about overthinking this week. That's why DCL is a classic overthink, I think, this week as well. And that's why Gundogan or Sterling should be a complete no-brainer.
Okay.
If you look at the numbers. But what are we doing? We're looking at Grealish and DCL. And, I even see people talk about Antonio, which is not out of the question, given Liverpool have got defensive problems.
All right, we're going to move on with that. There was another question that was here. Bungle says, been burned so many times by the early kickoff captain decision. Happy to just have a player or two in the Everton match, which is what the boys have got.
It's fair enough. I'm still not convinced I'm going to captain DCL, even, and I've made a point of saying that.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to move on to Ali Sufyan's question. The only real questions are, number one, start one, Kufal, Souček, or Antonio. Or start two, Sam Johnston or McCarthy. So there are two questions in that one. Does he start Kufal, Souček, or Antonio?
For me, I'd start Antonio.
Yeah, I'll start Antonio too.
Okay, both the boys say Antonio. And the second part of it is, does he start Sam Johnson or Alex McCarthy?
What a terrible choice. Well, it was West Brom playing Fulham, aren't they?
Fulham, yeah.
You see, Fulham are playing okay now. And West Brom are shocking. But I've just talked up Villa.
Exactly. Even potentially captaining Grealish.
Coin flip. Yeah. For me, I would probably go with McCarthy on the back of just the fact that it's Southampton. But you could equally just say, do you know what? I'm prepared to give it a chance with Johnson and go for the save points.
Okay, cool. So, Swang?
Well, both of them are bad options, but if I would start, I'll start Johnson. Just pray Sam Allardyce does a defensive masterclass. Okay,
perfect. Just looking through, Swang, you got a lot of love in the comments. So, a lot of fans there. Here's another one from Hadi Ryan. Who should I prioritize? DCL or Digne? Because I can't get both.
DCL or Digne, because you can't get both. DCL for me.
DCL for you.
The only reason, although I'll just give the caveat: if Pickford loses his place, I would go for Digne.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I mean we've seen quite a few fumbles from Pickford in recent times. I think Carlo Ancelotti I think he did hint though that Olsen would be coming in. It depends how much you want to read into it, but I kind of thought he was giving a hint that there was going to be a bit of rotation between the keepers for this match. Swain, if you had to prioritize DCL or Digne, who would it be?
Digne, as long as Pickford doesn't start, and Newcastle they can't attack. Digne.
Yeah, Digne. Yeah. Ali Sofian asked for attacking return. Does he start Kufal or Dallas?
Probably Kufal or Dallas.
Oh Llorente is injured now, so Dallas won't be playing in midfield anymore. So you to get back. Diego Llorente, he was injured.
Yeah, he came off injured in the last match, didn't he?
Yeah. So Dallas will have to shift back to right back.
So you'd go with Kufal?
I personally would. I just think there's a chance there's certainly a chance for something for Antonio, and it could be Kufal who delivers it, or Souček, of course.
Swing?
Well, I personally sold Dallas and I benching Kufal.
No, I'm benching both. I own both and I'm benching both.
Yeah. But if you had to choose one, Swing?
I'll start Kufal.
Start Kufal, perfect.
Yeah.
Let's see the other questions. Start Bamford or Antonio?
Easy. Antonio
all day.
Antonio all round. Sheila asks, number one, Kufal to Digne for a hit and bench. Okay, she's got two questions here. Kufal to Digne for a hit and bench Souček or Bamford. And the second part of it is Adams to DCL or Antonio.
Kufal to Digne for a hit. Well, I've just hit Digne in, so yeah. I would. The only thing I would say though is that I hit him in for an injured player. I hit him in for KWP, whereas Kufal does have some decent fixtures coming up in a few weeks' time. So that's a tougher one. Bench Souček. I'm playing Souček.
Yeah, I think out of that you probably bench Bamford, right? Between
Souček definitely over Souček. Out of those two at the moment, 100% I would bench Bamford.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
And the second part of that, Mariner, whilst I've got you on here, Adams to DCL or Antonio?
Again, another really tough question. I own both now.
Seems like you own one, mate.
From my perspective, Antonio is a season keeper. And you're there for the long haul. DCL is the gamble. I've gambled on DCL, so I would probably go Adams to DCL this week and then look at bringing Antonio in about 2 or 3 weeks' time when their fixtures turn. Because I think there's a couple of tough fixtures, and then I think their fixtures look quite tasty for a couple of weeks. From memory, I've not got them in front of me now, so I would probably do Adams to DCL. It would be my choice at the moment.
And Swing, what about you? First one was Kufal to Digne for a hit and bench Souček or Bamford, and the second one is Adams to DCL or Antonio.
Yeah, I brought Digne in for a hit, so I think that's a good move. Well, I don't think Kufal will keep a clean sheet, but I think Digne's attacking returns potential is much better. And well, I'm benching Bamford over Souček myself.
Okay. And
for the second question, I mean, they're both good options. But if you have Antonio, you're gonna play him every time. So quite tough decision. I think you should bring DCL because Newcastle is not good.
So DCL.
Yeah, bring DCL.
Okay, DCL. And it is. Just trying to search out for more questions. Okay, is it still worthwhile holding on to Kane for the coming game weeks? Have had him since the wildcard in game week 5 and have some value in him. Also have Antonio and Bamford. Does he ship Kane out?
Bloody hell!
Yeah.
I mean, he's zero. He's down as 0 on the website, isn't he? For chance of being fit. The issue is how long is he going to be out for? If he doesn't have any train wrecks this week and perhaps get away with it, and he doesn't mind losing 0.1 or something like that, although saying that, the way that the pricing's been going with FPL just recently. Nobody's got a bloody clue how that works. So he may well stay at the same price for the next 6 months, for all we know. But nobody's got a bloody clue, have they?
Yeah.
Does anybody know how it works? Because it's a fact I don't. So I've no idea. So I wouldn't worry about the price because it probably won't go down anyway or anymore. Because he went down this morning, I think, didn't he? So if that's the case, providing you've got no train wrecks, it also has Antonio and Bamford, I'd probably just play him and just see what happens next week, because he will be a pretty good. I think game week 23, I think they play West Brom.
Yeah.
And that is, if he's fit, you probably want him for that game. So because at the moment I've already
gamble, though, isn't it?
I've already you can always take him out next week. It's not going to cost you. At the end of the day, you just take him out next week. You'll know by then as to whether, you'll probably have had another press conference, because didn't Mourinho's press conference come? It was doubled up at the end of the last game. Yeah. So, quite frankly, we don't know the full story. So if you can maybe get away with it and bench him, fair enough. I can understand why people have took him out, though. I really can.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if Moreno light and Kane is actually fit.
Oh, you think it's mind games, do you?
Yeah. I mean, that's how it's
It wouldn't be the first time, would it? I mentioned earlier it could be Son Mark II. Which would, I think...
Don't bench him, just leave in at 11 and try to have your bench to cover if he's really injured.
Okay.
Well, I still came myself.
I would have a real...
I love the conspiracy theories there coming out. Yeah.
No, but I'll tell you what, you probably hear me laughing from here.
Yeah,
you'd probably hear me laughing. Yeah, I'd be howling, because it would just be typical, and it would just be another one of those curveballs which we've had this year. And how many curveballs have we had? Yeah, and this would be a massive one. I personally think he is injured. He would have stayed on the pitch if he wasn't injured.
Yeah,
if he could have played, he would have stayed on.
All right. Devendra asked, holding myself from taking a hit for Dallas to Digne. We'll see Souček benched again. Would anyone do it? If he takes a hit for Dallas to Digne, Souček will be benched. Would you guys do it?
Well, I nearly sold Souček for Sterling and then changed my mind. I'm going to play Souček. Souček on the bench. I mean, look, some people were really lucky. If you do bench him, put him first bench, for goodness sake. Don't put him second. But my view is I'm going to play him. I just think he's at this moment in time. He could turn up on any given day and he could score. So would I take a hit from Dallas to Dean to bench Souček? Probably not. I'd probably just play Souček.
And Swing?
Yeah, just play Souček. Just
play Souček.
Don't ever bench Souček again.
Well, never bench Souček again. What a shout that is.
That is brave. That is brave. I've benched him about 7 times this season, probably more than that, about 8 or 9 times. I've owned him since game week 1.
But you've had good returns from him, to be
fair.
fair.
Eventually. I didn't play him for 8 weeks.
Fudsley asked, what's your thoughts with this? Transfer Stones out for Digne and get Edison in. I still have 2 City defence with Edison and Diaz.
I just think, what's the point of moving players around like that? For me, I think it's, you're spending a lot of money by just going sideways in a sense. Stones has still got 2 fantastic fixtures. Everton are coming off a really poor run. You are gambling. It is a gamble.
And Swing?
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. Just bring a Man City goalkeeper out for Man City defender. Nah, just keep Stones and
keep Stones. Yeah. Okay. Next one is from Sam himself. He comes on the show. He's been on the show a couple of times actually. Bad connection last time round.
He wants available today. Today. Why is he not there now? Yeah.
Well, Joe's on here as well. I said Joe on here as well.
Yeah, Joe's there.
Here we go. First question: would you do Salah to Grealish for a -4? Second question is start Adams or Souček? I already have Antonio starting.
I'm fairly straightforward. The Salah to Grealish for a -4? Absolutely not. Adams or Souček? Definitely Souček.
Well, I know your answer with that one straight away. I don't even need to ask you that.
No, everyone knows how much I hate Adams.
Yeah. Swing.
I just think Salah, I mean, just very quickly on that one, Salah doesn't become a bad player and stay a bad player, right? Yes, he is going through an awful time. He was unlucky not to score. He does look down on a bit of confidence, but he just needs that goal, and I think he could go off again. We might be talking about Salah as a captaincy choice next week. I wouldn't be surprised if we aren't.
Salah did score in the FA Cup twice. So
he did, and I think, but everyone seems to forget about that
against Spurs as well.
Yeah, and everyone forgets about that a bit. Yeah, exactly. And he thrashed it in, but to be honest, again, he doesn't look like he doesn't look as high on confidence, but he just needs to get something this week, which is entirely possible, and then people will start be talking about him as a captaincy option for next week, 100%.
Okay. Moving on to the next question. I've seen a lot of this on Twitter, and I think Lens came out with something as well, and I think me and Sweng actually, we were tweeting about it. But there's a lot of talk about Chilwell being dropped after a poor performance against Wolves. I watched that match, and I think this is pretty strange because, I mean, Chelsea had so much of the ball. Yes, he missed the chance in terms of when he was in the opposition area, but I don't know. I don't think I can say he had a bad performance. He was in really good areas. He was right high up the pitch. But I just thought that Chelsea were just unable to unlock the Wolves' defense, and that was what they were lacking. Sweng, I think you're a Chelsea fan, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. Well, he was playing a left wing back role.
Yeah.
Well, if you really want to play left wing back, we have Marcos Alonso, who's much better at attacking wise. But you don't know what Tuchel's going to do. He's just the first game, the most unfair lineup he will ever put. And he was taken off after 70 minutes, and Hudson-Odoi ended up playing left wing back.
Yeah.
So we don't know what's going to happen if we, in the future games, we couldn't break down a low block like Burnley game. Like it could happen again. I think.
Can you see him starting?
I think he'll start. He'll start.
Yeah.
But whether he will perform is another question. I personally do not rate Chilwell at all. I don't think he's that good of a left back.
Wow, interesting.
If you don't want him, I'll have him at Grimsby. You can come to Grimsby anytime you want, mate.
No problem. Send it forward over there.
One left back.
Mariner, any insight into this?
Well, I mean, if you just want to quickly share my screen, I've got Chilwell's heat map up from last week. It's the bottom right corner of if you move the question, Craig, people will be able to see it. I think there we go. Look how far forward he is.
Yeah,
he basically hardly went into his own half.
Yeah,
and that tells me
much of the ball. I mean, their possession was about 80%.
Yeah, and that tells me that Alonso can play there. That's my view. And I think it's one of those ones. It certainly spooked me enough to not bring him in this week. I was considering it, and it spooked me sufficiently to not bring Chilwell in. I think we need to keep an eye out on what's going on with respect to Chelsea assets for a couple of weeks. Let things settle down. See who he's going to play. I mean, look, let's face it. Owners of Zuma now are scratching their head. You've got owners of Reece James scratching their head as well now, haven't you? And I think this is just another one. So I think if he plays there and he keeps playing, Chilwell is a no-brainer. Okay.
Moving on to the next one. Let's see if we can wrap this up fairly soon. Joe's asking questions. Oh, God, here we go. No, sorry. Hadi Ryan, is Joe taking hits? I might board the hype train for this. Sorry, it was for Joe. I might board the hype train for getting hits The hitman himself, Joe, he did respond. I just took one hit.
He took one hit. Yeah, I thought he did. Yeah.
Just a Bamford to DCL. I'm still unsure about captaincy, though, leaning towards Sterling, but DCL is tempting. Abilesh, if you were watching from the start, we did show the captaincy metrics and Sterling top 6. So if there's ever someone that you need to captain, it's got to be Sterling.
It's the safe move if you want the and he's still only 10% owned.
Yeah.
So if you think it could be, it's a safe-ish move and a potential high upside as well. So I'm starting to wish I owned him. But hey ho, I've gone the
second
other way.
part of it is, guys, should I start Souček or play with a 4-3-3 with Konza replacing Souček at the back? Got to play Souček.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, the matchup for headers is pretty good for Villa. So, and actually, I made a bit of a joke that we might rename Souček Watch to Konsa Watch or Mings Watch, because I backed Mings. Actually, I could have picked Konsa, but I backed Mings to score a header this week in yesterday's show. So I don't think that's an outside. I don't think that's a lot closer than it sounds. That one, a lot closer than it sounds. I probably still would go with Souček.
Okay. Scrolling down, we're nearly at the end, boys. Just bear with me. Thank you, Marin and Swang. So you've obviously helped some of them there. They're saying thank you. Start Rashford or Bamford. I have to bench one of them.
God. Swang, let you have this one.
Well, I only watched the first half of the Sheffield game. Rashford, I don't know. I think he's been out of form.
Yeah, he has been. I mean, obviously, as a United fan, I watch a lot of United, and he just doesn't. I know he scored in the FA Cup as well, but he still doesn't look sharp enough and clinical enough. But Bamford's not in form either, although Leeds create chances.
Can you so Rashford and get Sterling?
I'd probably go with Rashford for this one, just purely because he's the midfielder. And I think it will be a pretty open game against Arsenal. So
Rashford is really a big game player as well.
Matchups are not good. Matchups are not good for either of them.
Yeah. So if I had to pick one, I'd go Rashford.
Yeah, and I think I'd probably go the same.
Yeah, Rashford.
Yeah. Quick question for you, Mariner: is Bamford XG and XA still good?
Well, he made my Hall of Shame last night. 0.0 something. I can't quite remember what it was. I can just check. Just bear with me a second. I've got the numbers here.
0.02.
Was it 0.02?
I think
it was I know it was dreadful. Hang on. Let me just quickly check what the numbers were. Here we go. So Hall of Shame. 0.02 last week. XG.
0.02.
No is the answer to that. That said, what I would say is the Rafinha and Harrison are creating a lot.
Yeah.
So if he gets his shooting boots back on, I wouldn't be at all surprised if Bamford doesn't go on another run. But at the moment, he's looking prime bench fodder for me.
Okay. 9 minutes when they were 1-1. Maybe he's thinking of Rodrigo gonna play a striker right now.
But he actually did even worse than Bamford. He was 0.00.
0.00. But he plays in a much deeper role, to be fair to him. So
no, it seems like everything's going through Rafinha and Harrison at the moment. It seems like those two are the guys, and again, very, very reasonably priced players actually. And so Rafinha still looks a good option for me.
Just coming back to the Chelsea question and Chilwell. This is from Joe, who's one of our expert pundits on here. He says he's avoiding Chelsea for now. Tuchel himself said that he will rotate. So, back to the Chilwell question. It is a possibility that he could be rotated. Dean asks, someone 42 points ahead in my mini league, should I captain Calvert-Lewin as my friends are going Gundogan?
My honest answer,
I just have Calvert Lewin.
Sorry, you go first, Swing.
It depends if the others have. If Calvert Lewin is your differential pick, like the others do not have Calvert Lewin, then you should just captain Gundogan along with them.
I'd just play your game. I'd go with who you want to captain. There's tons of weeks to go yet. Play your game. I tried. I play in a few mini leagues. I play in a works league and a couple of other ones. And the other year, I was sitting quite high up in one of them, and I moved defensive, and it cost me about 50,000 in rank.
Wow!
Play your game. Play your game.
Okay, Kieran's joined this morning. Kieran, wakey.
Yeah.
Morning, he's gone straight on the rewind anyway. So.
Fair enough. He needs to try and catch me up. I think he's about 120 points behind me now, so he's got to get a wriggle on.
The video says go with gut for Salah captain and Gundo as per metric. The metric actually says captain Gundogan, not Salah.
It does, but the metric doesn't have Gundogan normally in there. If you know, and I still say, my goodness me, it's such a tough week. Is Salah going to blank again?
It'll be 7 times in a row if you blank.
Yeah, I think I've got a funny feeling. I think he's going to score. I have that funny feeling that Salah's going to get something. So this might not be off the wall. But if you're going stats at the moment, you're going to go with Gundogan.
Okay, good one it is. Tavindra, so if you could change that quickly before the deadline, you've got about an hour left.
All right, another hour of purgatory.
Last question for today. Sorry, just had a few more come in. Last question for today. Anyway, Ali Sufyan says, still in dilemma to start Bamford or Souček. I think we did cover this earlier. It's pretty straightforward. Souček is the person.
I am starting Souček over Bamford, Ali Sufyan.
Okay.
Yes, well.
Yeah, and so am I, both, for what it's worth. All right, guys, that brings us to the end of the show. We thank you all for everyone who tuned in and watched the live stream. We appreciate it. Guys, pundits, experts, thank you very much to Mariner. Thanks for coming on and giving us some of your time. As always, I know you had a long show yesterday, so I know this was a hard one to go through yet again. Swing, thank you for joining us as well for your second time.
Thanks for inviting me.
Always a pleasure. And once again, thank you guys for watching. We got an hour till the transfer deadline. If you do have any questions, do tag us on FPL Expectations. Do tag our experts as well. We've got at FPL Mariner, at FPL__ Swing. You can tag me and follow all of us. It's at Craig Rice 11. Do tag us. Fire your questions on there. If the boys can get back to you in the next hour, they will do so. And do give FPL Expectations a follow on Twitter, and do subscribe down below.
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
Give us a subscribe.
Just one thing, Craig. If anybody, if anybody's still got any questions, they want to get any of the screenshots and things which I've been showing, that my YouTube channel has a time-stamped version of my show from last night, so you can just go to it and click on. If you want to click on Gundogan and Cancelo, you can get that. If you've got any questions, and we haven't had any questions on Leicester, if you want any questions on Leicester, they're there as well. So if anybody wants that, just go and get it, because we're quite short for time now. And I've just checked my Twitter. There's about 20 questions on my Twitter as well.
Okay. Guys, if you don't know what Mariner's on about, he has his own show. It's a fantastic show which he puts up every week. He tries to get 2 or 3 videos up there. It's called Net the Hall. Just search it up on YouTube and you'll get it. Mariner does a fantastic piece with FPL Lens, and it's really quite something. I think Surya was on yesterday.
He was, yeah.
So it's an hour and a half, but like I said, the timestamps are down below. So do click on it and you get straight to where or whatever you need answering, and it should be enough. But Mariner, thank you for that. Swain, thank you as well. Good luck for game week 21. Thank you, everyone else out there as well, and good luck to yourselves. Game week 21. May the FPL gods be with you ahead of game week 21. and go on, Captain City assets. That is that is what the metric is studying. Take care, good luck, and enjoy the football.
Everyone.